Thanks for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside the one, the only, Tyler Keith. Tyler, how many hours did you work last week?
I forgot. It was all a blur to me, Ronnie.
I keep telling you.
Every day and every night.
I'm going to take my little mask off here. It's really hot in the studios today, I will say. Tyler is like the hardest working man around this studio in the station.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate all that you do. But Tyler, it's the first day of fall.
It is.
And you know what that means. It's time to have some fun. Fall fun. You need to have more fun.
Two of my favorite F words. I'll leave it at that. We're not that kind of radio station.
It is still warm outside. It's feeling like summer, up to 80 degrees this week, but still, we'll take it. Not bad weather, though, to head out to the apple orchard.
Very nice.
Maybe go visit the cider mill. Several of them are open this year, which is nice. So some of those family traditions can continue.
Yeah, that would be certainly nice. We spoke recently to a family owner of the Franklin Cider Mill, and that they reopened recently, and I saw a bunch of pictures over the last couple of weekends, last weekend or so since they've been open, and it looks like they're already off to a great start, so that tradition lives on.
It lives on, although we could do without the bees over there at the Franklin Cider Mill, but yeah, we can't have everything the way that we want it. We have a great show for you. As a reminder, you can catch us Monday through Friday right here on CivicCenterTV.com, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. For those of you out there that still have cable, we say thank you as well for continuing to support us, because a portion of your cable bill does go to support your local cable access. So thank you so much. And always, you can catch us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. Today, we also want to give a shout out to the West Bloomfield Parks Department. They are going to be live streaming us as well on their Facebook page, and we appreciate that as always. And we'll be speaking with them a little bit later in the show as well to find out some of the fun things that they have coming up with the West Bloomfield Parks. Such a great asset that we have in our backyard. A lot of important guests today.
Yeah.
The Tutor Doctor. Yesterday we talked to a medical doctor. Today we are speaking with the Tutor Doctor. And I would imagine that she is extremely busy because, remote learning, these poor kids. Tyler, I'm telling you, I'm glad I'm a pet parent right now, because so many of my friends have kids and they are trying to remote teach them. It's been interesting. Yeah,
so I was trying to put my cats into remote learning, and they just kept licking the screen. Not much different from kids.
Right, exactly, especially kindergartners, right?
Yeah, it's true.
We're going to be speaking to the CEO of the Lighthouse. They do a lot of great work for people here in Oakland County. Then we'll be heading to Oakland University, speaking with the professor of economics. How is this pandemic going to fare for Oakland County? What are things going to be looking like? And then also, we'll round out the show speaking with the owner of a power skating company. Obviously, the ice rinks have taken a huge hit during this time, but they are back open, but with a lot of restrictions. So we'll be checking in with them to see how things are going. So a lot going on here on the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. And of course, we have the day's headlines as well. If you want to head over to CivicCenterTV.com, click on the coronavirus tab, and we update the headlines each and every morning before we head into the studio. One of the big stories that we'll be talking about here, a 49-year-old man faces 2 felony charges after allegedly spitting on and insulting a man who confronted him at a Livonia gas station about not wearing a mask. Police say the 56-year-old man confronted a 49-year-old man, approached him, said, "Hey, you need to wear a mask. It's required." Well, the suspect didn't like that. So, you know what? He spit on him, called him a couple names. Now he is charged with ethnic intimidation and assault. The U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention advised all retail workers last month to avoid confrontations with people who aren't wearing a mask. So for this guy who is now facing 2 felony counts, was it worth it? Just put the mask on. You know, the guy working at the gas station, he didn't make the rule.
No.
He didn't make the mandate. Just be nice to one another. It's okay. You can do it. And having a felony conviction on your record is not a good thing, Tyler.
No, and there's no reason to do that. At the very worst, say, okay, yeah, just a minute, I'll go grab one out of my car, and then never go grab it, you know? Be respectful at least to the person that's confronting you, and you don't need to go assaulting them and insulting them because they ask you to wear a mask, when literally everybody has been asking everybody to wear a mask in the U.S. and around the world since March. So it's really not asking a whole lot, and to have a reaction like that, this guy deserves some time.
Yeah, my guess is he had other issues going on in his life at the time,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
would hope. COVID-19 cases surge in Michigan schools. This is no surprise here. Coronavirus outbreaks are spiking in Michigan schools and colleges, with the report released by the state yesterday afternoon listing new or ongoing outbreaks in 28 K through 12 schools and 20 colleges and universities across the state. The report, which tallies outbreaks as of September 17th, indicate there's now at least 2,220 COVID-19 infections linked to new or ongoing outbreaks at Michigan colleges and universities, up more than 60% from the number reported by the state last week. While cases are increasing in school and college settings, good news here, hospitalizations among the state as a whole are not. In fact, they're now near the lowest number since April. So some positive news going on there, Tyler, as we are seeing more cases. And, you know, doctor talked about that yesterday as well. His son is a MSU student learning remotely at home. And he had mentioned that, you know, so many people are not needing hospital care with COVID-19, which is a good thing because now it seems like we are getting a handle on the virus.
Yeah, we're much better prepared to test for it. We're much better prepared to get out ahead of it. People are aware of the symptoms. They're aware of how to reduce their likelihood of having symptoms, not having symptoms, but picking up the virus. And then our hospital system's not overwhelmed, and our medical systems aren't overwhelmed, so they're able to treat it better, and they're able to get out ahead of it enough. And then also the trends have kind of changed as well, where a lot of the new cases are in younger people that are less likely to show severe symptoms of it that lead to hospitalization. So all that being considered, we're in a lot better spot than we have been in. But younger people do need to do a better job of being aware of the virus and preventing the spread of it.
This is an interesting way that they are going to try to track the virus, especially on college campuses. The testing of wastewater for evidence of COVID-19 is showing promise. A new paper suggests it could provide a very early warning of an impending outbreak. The main way epidemiologists have followed the growth of the pandemic is through testing individuals. Those results will be delayed from the date the person actually first becomes infected. Wastewater testing will detect a problem much sooner. So researchers at both MSU and U of M have already started looking at how wastewater testing could be used to detect COVID-19 outbreaks on their campuses, getting creative and trying to find a solution to this virus and tracking it. And this is one way that they are doing it.
Yeah, and it's another example of trying to get out ahead of the virus as far as you possibly can, because if it is spreading locally and someone's not showing symptoms yet and they haven't been tested yet and you're not aware of an outbreak, but testing the wastewater can tell you that there is potentially an outbreak in a given area, you can then begin mass testing in that area, or you can begin advising quarantining in that area and maybe reduce the spread of the virus or an outbreak altogether. So if that's something that that researchers and the medical community are saying is a viable way to get out ahead of the virus, then all the power to them. Use it.
Also on CivicCenterTV.com, restaurant and hotel workers. Others in Michigan's hospitality industry who have faced financial hardships due to COVID-19 will again have the opportunity to apply for a one-time assistance payment of up to $500 beginning this week. The Michigan Hospitality Industry Employee Relief Fund, supported by the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association Educational Foundation, is reopening its application. It started this morning at 8 a.m. and goes until October 1st, 5 p.m. Applicants must be Michigan residents, have proof of employment in the hospitality industry. On March 10th, when Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared a state of emergency in Michigan, applications will also need to provide proof of a furlough or job loss as a result. So even though so many of these workers are back on the job, they're not making near as much money as they used to because you have lower capacity, and so you're not getting the tips that you once got, and maybe your hours aren't, you don't have as many hours because, you know, restaurants and hotels aren't as busy. So it's a one-time payment of up to $500. I know for a lot of people that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but when you are living, you know, paycheck to paycheck and dollar to dollar, that can be a lifesaver.
Yeah, and these people have been working around the clock throughout this pandemic whenever they've been able to be at their place of work, whether it be in a hotel, whether it be in a restaurant, whatever capacity it's in. They've been there toughing this out and having to tough it out not only by being there on the front lines during an ongoing pandemic where you're interacting with a lot of people on a daily basis, but also from a business sense where, like you said, reduced capacities, less people comfortable going out, less people keeping their jobs and being able to afford to go out to eat or to stay in a hotel and not patronizing these businesses as often, which means that these workers are often who often work on tips alone and a very small hourly pay on top of that maybe, are making significantly less money. So this assistance is something that can't come at a better time for these workers.
You'll find those stories and more over on civiccentertv.com. We also put links to all the resources that you need to be able to stay on top of the pandemic, including the CDC, the state of Michigan, and Oakland County, and all of our local communities as well. So a lot of good information over on civiccentertv.com. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're checking in with the Tutor Doctor. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast here on civiccentertv.com. A lot of parents struggling just as much as their kids right now as school is back in session and so many kids are remote learning. I have a feeling, Tyler, a lot of these kids are learning math the old school way about right now because that new math, a little complicated. We are going to go ahead and bring in Carol
Azarovitz.
Azarovitz. Carol, is that it?
Azarovitz.
We were
Azarovitz.
We were both wrong, Tyler. Hey,
That's okay. Everybody is. It's great.
well, we're just going to call you Tutor Doctor.
Okay. That's great.
Thank you for being with us on the Megacast.
You are absolutely correct. There are a lot of kids learning to carry that one right now.
See, so I'm not the only one. I remember when my nephew was learning math in 5th grade, the new math, I was like, what is this? When did it switch and why did it switch?
Yes, we've had it called everything from I can't repeat to witchcraft to, yes, that new math is something else.
So how are things going for you as the tutor doctor? I would imagine pretty busy right now.
Things are getting a little bit busier. You know, every school district right now has their own plan, and the plans are still continuing to change. So we have a lot of parents that are confused, overwhelmed. They don't know what's going to happen next. So we're here for them. This virtual learning is definitely something that it's new territory for all of us.
Has it been hard for the students to maintain their focus and to actually learn this way?
Yes, it actually is. Being on screen for hours and hours, as I said, each school district has its own scheduling plan. And, you know, everybody's doing the best they can. Every school district has to do their own based on, you know, their technological availability, teachers, students, all of that. The teachers have been amazing. Everybody has just risen up to take on this challenge. But the kids are exhausted, and the teachers are too. They're in front of screens for a very long time. There's a lot of breaks given during the day, but then the kids have to relearn how to focus, sit back down, and it is exhausting at the end of the day. And then they have more homework than they usually would have in a traditional learning environment because they have to make up those missing gaps from virtual learning. So the kids are exhausted.
So then, with that being the case, Carol, would you say that the kids that are in a virtual or in a hybrid situation are having a tougher time in this particular school year with all the things that are in place than those that are maybe in an in-person method?
I think overall, yes, there are some kids that are thriving in this, and God bless them. That's fantastic. That's what we like to see. But I think overall, the majority of the kids are struggling. I myself have 3 at home, and I hear all sorts of frustration and complaints. And it's important right now for the parents. You know, we have a lot of strategies that we can share for the parents to help with this learning situation. And the first thing is, especially if you have more than one student in your house, that they need to have their own learning station, their own learning space. And it shouldn't be in their bed. You know, they should be sitting at a table with their computer, but in their own space where they can put their books and their stuff and their siblings can't touch it. That's very important. It's also very important to maintain routine and structure and scheduling. In other words, getting up at the same time every day, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, getting dressed, making your bed. These things are so important just for the mental health. You know, and my one advice I would give parents is to really listen with an open heart and an open mind to your students. One of our key values at Tutor Doctor is to listen to understand, not to respond. We want to be empathetic. And a lot of kids are going to think that if they don't say, hey, this is great, this is wonderful, that maybe they're disappointing mom and dad or their teacher. But inside they might be so frustrated and at the end of their rope because they don't know what to do. So please listen empathetically, because these students might be telling you it's time to get some professional help.
And Carol, when should the parent make that decision? Because I would think in this case, their grades might be down. So how do you know when it's time to call the tutor doctor?
That is a great question. First, it is important for moms and dads to breathe, take in breath. We are all in this together, and this is not an easy situation by any means. If your student is struggling, if you start to see tears, quivering lips, if they're just frustrated, it's time to call professional help. We can come in and we can allow mom and dad to be mom and dad, and we are the educational accountability partner. We're the coach. So we can come in after school and make sure that they understood that day's lessons. They understood what was talked to. There is definitely foundations that are lost to the students between this new platform and what they're getting at the end of the day. We can come in and help fill those in. Tutor Doctor is not homework helpers. You don't bring us your homework and we sit with you and do your homework. We want our students to attempt their homework before they meet with their tutor, and then we come in and help fill in those educational the missing foundations, if you will. We help the classroom teacher the best we can.
So, Kara, how does that work? Do you go to individual homes or do they come to you? What's that look like?
Well, we do both. So the way our process works is the parents will contact us. We will have either a virtual meeting like we're having now or a phone call where we get to know the family. We'll dig in very deep. Sometimes we'll go to their house and have this meeting with them. With COVID, we're trying to limit those right now. But usually we do go to the house. We get to know the family. We get to know the student. We get to know their likes and their dislikes. What's really going on? How were your grades last year? We ask so many questions. It's almost prying, but it's not. Then we make our recommendations. At the end of the recommendations, if the parents choose to enroll, then we hand match our tutors and students. So this is not just picking out the next tutor and giving you just to anybody. We meet the parents at their scheduled time. So if they always have commitments on Tuesday, we know that we're not going to be tutoring on Tuesday. Now, for the two platforms, we can come in person. And right now, we're doing great. We are back in person with all the COVID mandates in place with the mask and the social distancing. I say the weather is absolutely gorgeous outside. I'm looking outside and it looks spectacular. So I encourage the parents and the tutors to please go outside and enjoy this Michigan fall while we have it, and maybe do the tutoring at the picnic table outside. And then we also have our virtual platform where our tutors can come in through a secured classroom, so there's no Zoom bombing going on. And they have all of the tools that they would have in a normal classroom. There's a two-way camera that can be turned on and off. And the beautiful thing is all the sessions are recorded for later viewing. This is fantastic for our students who are in the advanced math and sciences who will want to review past sessions with their tutor before exams. So it's really up to the parents. Some parents are not comfortable with allowing tutors into their house yet with this virus going on. We can do virtual. Other parents don't want their students on yet one more virtual platform. We can do in person, as long as we don't move back to phase 3. If we move back to phase 3, everybody's on virtual automatically. So.
Carol Azarovitz with us. She is the education manager at the Tutor Doctor, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So Carol, seeing a variety of students, your team sees a variety of students that are in different school districts and different schooling systems in different phases of learning during the pandemic, whether it be virtual, in person, or a hybrid of the two. What are you seeing across the board as the biggest gaps in learning or the biggest needs for these students in continuing their learning effectively during this time?
It like we mentioned before, it's really, there is such a difference between a student in a classroom with their teacher. The teacher's looking at 20, 25 students, and they can call a student back to attention very quickly. There's more direct discipline if that's a need. Hopefully that's not, but sometimes teachers have to send kids out into the hall or down to the principal's office. There's all of that is lost. These teachers are on Zoom. They're looking at all these little boxes. They're trying to do the best they can. I heard of one student that got on Zoom, put up a background, like just a blank background, typed in loading ... and walked away. And he was playing Xbox. And the teacher thought that he was having connectivity issues where the kid was off playing Xbox. So when you
Smart
talk
kid.
about what is missing, it kind of depends on the child.
So, Carol, and how does this work?
And they're smart. These kids are very, very smart. They are so much better at technology than some of us that never grew, we didn't have computers until junior high. These kids grew up with it. They know how to work a Zoom meeting better than anyone.
Yeah, we need them to be our IT experts during all of this.
Exactly.
We're hearing a lot about learning pods. Does the Tutor Doctor offer that as an option as well, or is this all one-on-one?
We do. Our primary key is one-on-one. That is our superior niche. But we do offer learning pods. So with this virtual learning and all the platforms, learning pods became the new buzzword. And it is, in my opinion, exactly that. It is a buzzword. So I also saw it grow regionally. So there's certain regions of the country that pod learning took off and some where it didn't really so much. We had a lot of inquiries for pod learning here, and then all of a sudden nothing. And what pod learning is we do offer pod learning. It is 3 to 6 kids, the same grade, hopefully the same school, but not necessarily. And we put a educational coach in there, a tutor. It's the same principal. It's the same tutor all the time. It's the same date, same times, same kids. There has to be COVID compliancy. So we have to talk with the parents about, is your home going to be allowing for social distancing and all of that. Making sure that all the students that come to the learning pod don't have a fever, haven't been in contact, all of that. But the tutor actually works with that group. So let's say we have a 6th grade pod, that's 3 to 6 friends. Usually the friend groups form their own pod and then come to us for professional tutoring. The tutor goes and they work with those same 3 to 6 kids every week or twice a week. The kids can come bring in their homework. They say, I did my math. I have no idea what this geometry problem was, so forth. And it's like a little mini micro school.
So are you pretty much...
We absolutely do offer that, yes.
That's good. It seems like that was something a lot of parents were interested in back as they were inching into the school year. And maybe as we continue on and things aren't going well, they might explore that option again. So when you're tutoring, is it one subject or can you cover multiple subjects at once? And is it by the hour?
So that's the great question. And the answer is that Tutor Doctor, we don't subscribe to we don't have a pre-written curriculum. Every student's path is unique and their tutoring path also needs to be unique. And so what we do is we meet our students where they're at and we help guide them to where they need to be. So we have students that contact us and they only need calculus. Okay, we'll send in a calculus expert and we'll help get you through. Those are the kids that also love virtual because they love the recorded sessions. We have some, especially our elementary and lower middle school, they just need general homework help. They're kind of going to be missing foundations in all those subjects. So we have specialists that go in, and I have one tutor that works with he's in 4th grade now. He just started 4th grade. And every day she logs on with him and works on a different core subject that day. So we are completely flexible here at Tutor Doctor because every student's need is completely different.
Carol Azarovitz with us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is the Education Manager at the Tutor Doctor. Carol, just another couple of minutes with you before we have to let you go. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss with us today or anything else that we haven't touched on that would be important for our audience to know?
No, I think we touched on quite a bit. just to keep an open heart and an open ear for your students. Parents, please listen to them, and they're going to tell you when it's time, whether they say it's time to get professional help or they say, Mom, I just can't do this anymore. Then please call us. I believe they're going to put contact information on the screen. If not, we can give it verbally. Please call us and at least talk to us. We can talk you through anything. This won't last forever. Someday we are going to go back to in-person learning, and we're hoping it's sooner than later. But please call us before you go too far down that rabbit hole. I mean, we'll go down the rabbit hole with you for sure. But this is a crazy, crazy time. And getting in front of this sooner than later is going to be a benefit to your students.
Carol, quickly before we let you go, where do you find your tutor doctors, and are you having trouble finding qualified people?
Oh no, we don't have trouble finding qualified people. My recruiter, for every 100 resumes, will only pick a select few. So we have quite a few qualified. We're always looking for more qualified tutors. You can find us on www.tutordoctor.com. This office is mid-Oakland County, so it's Orion/Bloomfield. So it's Lake Orion all the way down to Southfield and Rochester to West Bloomfield. And we also have an office in Michigan that's in Troy and Rochester, and we have a brand new office opening that just opened 2 weeks ago in Brownstown. And we're very excited to have Shauna join our team. You can go to tutordoctor.com. If you're interested in becoming a tutor, we would love to see your resume. I'll send it off to our recruiter. He'll contact you. If you have questions and you're a parent, please, 1-800-4-TUTORS. Super easy to remember. You might see a purple Mustang driving around. That's us. We have a purple Mustang with 1-800-4-TUTORS on it.
So are your tutors, do they have to have a background in education, or can they just have life work experience in a certain subject matter? What
the main qualification is, they have to be passionate about education, about helping students, and they have to have a mastery of their subject. We have certified teachers on our staff. We have qualified professionals on our staff. We have honor roll college kids on our staff. So everybody has to be fully vetted and backward. We're not just sending anybody into the home. Like I said, I have 3 kids. My rule of thumb is what I want this person coming into my home with my kids. We look at transcripts and resumes and do full background checks and reference checks. So to answer your question, they come from all sorts of walks of life, but they have to be creative, because we don't believe in just putting a worksheet in front of a student. We believe in getting results, right? We don't bandage your educational situation. We actually work for the cure. So we want somebody who's creative. We've had one student learn to read by acting. It works. Students learn math because we get them out playing basketball, and then they realize, oh, wait a minute, I just did math. Our tutors are very, very creative. They have to be passionate, and they have to have commitment, and they have to have grit.
Sounds like you have a great team over there helping you navigate the pandemic. Carol with us, the Tutor Doctor. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us, and we'll let you get back to your 3. I will say, if I'm a student, I think it would be nice to have you in my household to help me navigate this.
They would completely disagree. I'm tough. I am very tough.
I'm sure you are. But they'll appreciate it one day when they get older.
I think they're calling for the tutor now because they're tired of me helping.
Carol, thank you so much. Parents out there, if you need a little bit of extra help with your kids this school year, check out the tutordoctor.com or 1-800-4-TUTORS. A good service, so many people in need this year. So thank you to the team over at the Tutor Doctor. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, we're heading outdoors to the parks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonay Khaldun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
When I need a little escape from all things COVID-19 related, excuse me, Tyler, I'm getting a frog in my throat. Get it? Frog?
Yeah,
Ribbit?
it's very funny. Oh my.
I say that because we are heading outdoors with Lauren Azoury. She is a park naturalist at the West Bloomfield Parks. Thanks for being with us. Do you have any frogs over there with you?
We do. Our tree frog is behind me in that tall tank back there. I think he got a chuckle out of your joke, as did I.
Ribbit. How are things going over there at the parks?
Good. Personally, it was my favorite season. I know fall is a lot of people's favorite season. It's a great time to get outdoors. And we're still offering a lot of really unique and rethought out COVID-style outdoor programs that have been well attended. So we're really enjoying it over here right now. Thanks for asking.
I just came from up north, and the colors are starting to turn bright red and orange. It's so beautiful to see the trees turn. So any outdoor fall activities that you have planned?
Yeah, one of our really popular activities, usually in mid-October, is our hay rides. And obviously with COVID, it's a little bit trickier this year to join hay rides with families that you don't know. So we've revamped them to be what we call our group hay rides. And they're for a group of 20 or less of your own choosing. So the fee covers you and your 20 people or less. If you just want to do your family of 4, you're welcome to do that. And then you get your own hay ride. And it's a nature-based hay ride. So it's not just one little stroll around the block. We make fun stops and learn about fall color changes and different animals in the park that you're passing along the way. And then you get a craft kit to go, as well as like donuts and cider to go, and blankets. So we're providing fun little blankets for you to go off in the park after your hay ride's over and enjoy some fall color viewing. Marchbank Park that week of our hay rides is gorgeous. October 14th, 15th, and 16th are the choices. And it's the fall colors, like you said, up north are great. They're starting to head down our direction for the good colors. Those leaves are, especially the maples with the extra sugar and things in them, they get the extra reds, and we have a lot of maples at Marchbank, so it's beautiful there for our group hay rides.
That is so awesome. For people that maybe can't take part in the hayride, what do you recommend they do to get out and enjoy the colors? Like, how can they educate themselves as they're taking that outdoor stroll?
Yeah, well, there is actually a fall color hotline that you can call, provided by the state of Michigan, and the state of Illinois has one as well. So you can always call the fall color hotlines, which is kind of a funny thing, but also fun to do. And it tells you when peak season is predicted in your area, so if you're really looking. But I always say it's really neat to see the change happen. So if you go out one day and then a few days later make new observations and go out the next day on the same trail, it's kind of unique to see how that's happening. So West Bloomfield Parks, we have multiple parks and multiple trails. So you can go to wbparks.org and check out the trail systems that we have, print maps and take them with you if you don't know the trails, if you've never been on them before. And it's a great way to explore. Some are short, little small loops that still get you some great colors, like Bloomer Park off of Green Lake Road. It's very, very small loop, but it's beautiful. So if you have little kids, that's a great one to do. Some of our longer trails, like our Trail Network or our Nature Preserve, are a little bit more unpaved and crushed limestone, but still gorgeous. So whatever fits your needs and your group that's going to go hiking's needs, you can find it on our website and print a map and check it out.
Lauren Azoury with us, Parks Naturalist at West Bloomfield Parks, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So as the trees and the leaves are transitioning throughout the fall, the animals in our local area are also transitioning, getting ready for the winter. Can you talk to us a little bit about your program that involves talking about that with schools?
Yeah, so a lot of times this time of year we do field trips. With COVID is a little bit different this year. We are doing them via Zoom, but we like a fun phrase here. We call fall's the time to get ready. So right now what all the animals are doing are getting ready for winter. So fall is a big time to prep themselves to survive winter, whether that be by migrating. So multiple birds do stay here in Michigan if they're seed eaters, but bluebirds and other birds that are insect eaters, obviously not very many insects flying around in the wintertime. So those birds do start to migrate this time of year. As far as other animals that stick around, groundhogs are our only true hibernators in this area, and they are fattening up for winter. So they're eating lots, and their body is going to slow down immensely. Actually, it's pretty crazy how hibernation works for these mammals that do hibernate, like a groundhog. So their heart rate slows down to like 4 to 5 beats per minute, and they only breathe once every 4 minutes or so. So when we say hibernation state and you're slowing your body down, they really, really, truly are. Bears, which we don't have in West Bloomfield, but up in northern Michigan, there are black bears. They are not true hibernators, but they are still preparing for winter. So they do wake up periodically in their dens. They even have their babies during the winter and care for them in their dens. So even though the typical thing that people say is, oh, bears are hibernators, they really aren't true hibernators. They're what we would consider a deep sleeper. So all different animals are doing different things depending on what their food source is. And then animals like the deer, I'm sure you guys see lots of deer in your backyards or on our trails. They're also preparing for winter. They're changing their clothes. So their fur, they're shedding that spring coat and they're starting to grow a winter coat. So the thicker fur they grow in the winter time is pretty cool. Each little strand of hair that they have is hollow. So we call it hair air. And if you own a down coat, you know how warm those really can be. And air is actually an insulator. Not something you think of commonly, but we use it all the time as an insulator with that down feathers that trap air inside our coats that we wear in the winter. Animals did that first. We got that idea from them. So if they're sticking around and preparing for winter to stay awake all winter and be active in the winter, then they're changing their fur a lot right now. There's a cool weasel that actually changes its color completely. So it sheds its brown fur and starts to grow white fur so that it can blend in better with the snow. So lots of good nature tricks in the fall and lots of different animals getting ready for fall, which I can definitely expand on more if you want to learn more about that.
So what are the deer going to be eating? Because they've already munched away all my hostas and my other plants, and they started on my hydrangea. So once those go away, what will they be munching on throughout our backyards?
Yeah, great question. So animals that remain active in the winter generally change their diet for the fall and winter seasons. So right now acorns are a great source of food for them, black walnuts, things like that they can find in the wild, as well as you know, some of your garden plants too. So they are herbivores, they're plant eaters. They like new buds and things like that. So they might be eating some of the fall plants that are starting to bloom, like asters before they come to flower. But generally in the spring and summer, they're herbivores. So they eat leaves and plants and buds of plants that are starting to grow. But in the wintertime, they do a thing called browsing. Browsing is a fancy term for basically eating twigs and eating the woody parts of plants. So they'll peel off the outer bark of the tree or of the stick or branch, because that part isn't nutrients. That is protecting the tree. It's like a Band-Aid. So they'll peel that part back, and then they'll munch on the inner bark or the cambium layer, the different layers inside the plant or the tree that has good nutrients. So they actually eat sticks in the wintertime more so than they do all that good green stuff.
I always learn so much when you guys come on the show. It's amazing. So
good. That's my goal. I'm glad. I love teaching about nature. And I think if it just sparks a little curiosity in you and you take your family outside or you take a friend outside and teach them to, pass it on, definitely. The more we learn, the more we appreciate nature. So that's really the core of our education mission, really, is just to get you excited and appreciate nature just by learning one or two fun new things.
So just like the animals, so many of us humans like to hibernate in the wintertime as well. But I would think that it's great to be able to bundle up, get outside, and walk and explore. Do you have some of this information on your website so it could be a guide for parents so they're not just making up their own fun facts for their kids?
Absolutely. So we do have a nature education page on our wbparks.org website. If you find, look for the location of Recreation Activity Center, that's where the nature room is located, that room I'm standing in now, where all of our live animals live and help me teach as well. And under the Recreation Activity Center page, there's a nature page. So it'll tell you about upcoming programs that you can attend and different things to help your family and come and chat with us. We have open hours too. We call them our Nature Outdoor Explore Hours. During COVID times, we're only doing those outdoors, and we have a really awesome outdoor natural play area. So it's a free program for you and your kids to come and explore, and there's always a naturalist on hand, so you can pick our brain. We love chatting with people and giving them ideas of activities to do. We also have Mommy and Me hikes, and during that time, I really, really connect with the kids, but I also really connect with the parents, because that's just as important. Providing them with reassurance that it is okay to take your kids outside on your own, even if you don't know all the answers. I always tell people, if you don't know the name of every plant, your kid is still going to really, really enjoy their time outside with you. It's really about making those connections. And the other thing is, as you'll notice in like science curriculum early on, it's all about making observations. So a true scientist makes good observations. That's why it's great to visit a similar spot over and over again. So if you live close to the rec center and you want to go to our Civic Center trails behind our nature room, and you go this week, and then you show your kid in a few weeks the same spot, like just observing what's happening outdoors and why is it changing, sparks curiosity and starts to build really good scientific building blocks for later on in later years as you become a student in middle school and high school as well.
Lauren Azoury with us, Parks Naturalist at West Bloomfield Parks with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So, Lauren, over the course of the pandemic, more people have been getting outside. They're looking for something to do with their family that they can do at a safe distance and outdoors, and a lot of them have been going to our local parks more than maybe ever before, and they're doing their best part there to prevent the spread of COVID as well by wearing their masks and keeping their social distance. But there are some problems that are arising in the parks because of masks, particularly mask litter in the parks. Can you talk to us a little bit about that issue?
Absolutely. Yeah, we very much appreciate the parks being used. That's what they're there for. And outside time is so important right now. So many different studies about adult development, but also as well as child development. And as your previous guest was, addressing about the Zoom and screen time and how stressful that can be on kids and adults, that getting into the parks and getting outside in any way that you can definitely is a good de-stressing mechanism to do that. And many use masks while they're outdoors. So medical masks are actually made out of polypropylene, which you might have heard that word before when we talk about single-use plastics in general. So that when we talk about straws and we talk about water bottles that aren't reusable, those kinds of things. So the main material that medical masks are made out of is actually like a thermoplastic polymer. So they are truly made out of plastic, which many people maybe did not know. So we want to ask that you please dispose of those properly for lots of reasons. Medical masks were usually originally prior to COVID used by medical professionals only, and therefore disposed of properly in like biohazard containers and things like that. So this was not as much of a problem as it was now that so many Americans and all across the world really are wearing medical masks much more frequently. So one medical mask does take 450 years to decompose, estimated. Quite a long time. So we definitely encourage everyone to please dispose of them properly. You need to make sure they make it into a garbage can with a lid that is sealed. Wind is a huge factor in single-use plastic spread and littering. So you may think you're doing the right thing, but it can happen no matter what we do. So the best thing is to reduce the use as well. Because what happens is all these single-use plastics, including these medical masks, might go into your garbage can and you think you did it right. Now from your garbage can, it goes into the garbage truck, who then takes it to the landfill. Well, if there's any kind of wind or the bag breaks or any of those little nuances that can happen in the supply chain, then that mask can be blown away. Now, it might just land on the ground, but what happens most often is it's transferred to our water systems. So it goes down a sewer drain or it goes down to a local lake or river. And if it doesn't stay there, then it even eventually goes into our oceans. So medical masks are definitely becoming part of the single-use plastic problem, because just like we used to have the straw conversation a lot, about 6 months ago was a big deal. Still a big deal, and this is just adding to it. So some recommendations is, if you are able to safely and in your field of work, use a reusable mask so that you can wash them at home and they're not going into a landfill or into our water systems. Make sure they're disposed of properly. Please don't leave them on park grounds, or if they fall out of your car, whatever it might be, please make sure they make it into a sealed, correct bag. And then before you do that, before you put it in a sealed bag, the other thing you can do to help is to cut the ear loops when you're done, before you dispose of them. So do you guys remember the 6-pack holders?
Oh, yeah.
That hold like Coke cans and things like that are made of plastic?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we used to cut, you don't see them as frequently because we don't use them as often, but that was a huge issue in oceans and lakes and waters, because the same thing would happen. It would fly in the wind on accident, it would get into our waterways, and many marine animals and wetland animals were getting tangled in them. So we all learned eventually to cut them so that it was less chance of them getting tangled. It doesn't help with the litter issue, but it does help with injuring wildlife. So they're recommending the same thing, is to cut your ear loops of your medical masks before you dispose of them, to hopefully lessen the chance of wildlife getting tangled up in them. And it is, as I was looking this up, learning a little more about this, it is definitely happening. There are definitely photos of scuba dive rescue groups that have been helping with this issue. So yeah, just be super conscious when you're using those medical masks, or try to use a reusable if it's appropriate for your field of work or your situation.
Such a good tip that so many of us didn't even consider. I live on the West Bloomfield Trail, and we have actually seen them on the trail. I think people are running possibly, or they put it in their pocket and it falls out, something of that nature. So never even thought about it. And I do understand about the trash and the windy days, because in the fall time or in the springtime, we try to do a cleanup behind our complex, because the amount of trash that gathers back there is amazing. And it's just, people put their trash out and it's windy and it blows away. So such a good point that we didn't even think about. So we appreciate you bringing that up. And I will say my other pet peeve on the trail is dog waste. People that do not clean up after their pets. I want to put a trail camera out so I can start catching them and shaming them.
Well, that's an issue that's been ongoing, but anything, right now, because parks are being used more often than they were in the past, just any more foot traffic than we're getting, then more mistakes can happen and things like that are more frequent. But pet waste is a contaminant. So it's different than wildlife waste. So it's different than a raccoon or a deer using their wild area to use the restroom, because of what your dog eats. So everything that your dog eats and their digestive system is different than a wild animal. So we're putting contaminants into our nature areas and into our wastewater areas as well. So yeah, people don't think of it that way, but we do have educational signs that we put out regarding dog waste, and we move them around so that they're in different areas and different parks every few weeks, so that we keep it fresh. And maybe if you didn't see it the first time, hopefully you saw it the second time. But yes, it is considered a contaminant, and it's not good for the environment. So it is not the same as a wild animal using the nature preserve to go to the bathroom. Dog waste is a contaminant. So you should pick it up and place it into a proper trash receptacle. Absolutely.
Well, what's great is you do actually provide waste bags at the entrances of the trail. So thank you for doing that. While we have you, I'm curious, because you obviously have a love for the outdoors and for nature. Can you recommend any apps for parents or kids to help keep that interest going?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's if you are looking to learn more about what something is and you don't know the name of it, and you can't email me, because a lot of times I do get emails from local residents that we know, the families that come to a lot of programs, and they'll ask us questions about what plant they saw, or what bird is this nesting in their backyard. But there's a great app called iNaturalist, and it's a good identification app. And so other naturalists and certified users will comment and tell you their ideas on what they think it is. And then it gets certified by other people. So it's not just a random person telling you, it's educated people telling you what that is. Another great one is Skyview. If you're into night astronomy and you want to learn some of the constellations, it's a really cool app that you can hold up to the sky, and it connects the dots of the stars for you and tells you what constellation is what. So that one's really cool. It also shows you where the planets are, because they change as well. So that's a cool astronomy app that I love, the Skyview app. and then the iNaturalist app. Another one is eBird. So some of our nature staff here are big bird nerds, and they love to learn and find new birds. So eBird is a good birding app as well. As far as those are great for a little bit older children. As far as younger kids, we just encourage the good old fashioned like nature journal, like take a notebook out and work on those writing skills by drawing a picture of what you see. And then referencing that notebook again. So nature journaling, one of our other nature staff, Miss Kathy, loves to teach nature journaling. And with my kiddo right now in kindergarten and seeing how important drawing is to learning writing skills in the future, go back old school for sure and just bring out a notebook with you too. But yeah, eBird, iNaturalist, and Skyview are some great apps to educate yourself on different things outside.
That is so great to know. I will say I love Skyview, but the issue with that is sometimes I'm walking at night and I have it up as I'm walking and I get distracted. And sometimes like, my dog will pull and all of a sudden I'm like face down as she, sees a bird or a squirrel and she takes off and I'm up trying to see. It is one of the best apps, though. I think it's like 99 cents or something to download. So, Laura, just a few more minutes here with us on the Megacast. Anything that you want to get out that maybe we didn't touch on?
Yeah, so the other thing, I know it's kind of pertinent to your previous guest. We know that, schooling right now is more challenging than it's ever been. So we are offering Nature for Homeschoolers programs. This is something we've offered in the past as well, but I feel like it's more prevalent right now than ever before. So even if you aren't a true homeschool family or homeschool group and you're just looking to have a new way of educating your kids, taking a break from your traditional route currently, then we definitely invite you to check out our website at wbparks.org to check out our Nature for Homeschoolers programs. They're super hands-on. Everything's going to be outdoors and, COVID precautions will be taken. Everyone has their own individual workstations. We go on a hike as well. So we focus a lot on STEM, so there's still a lot of science, but we kind of integrate everything. Like I said, we'll be reading, we'll be writing, we'll be doing all those things, and we make it tons of fun and interactive. So just another option for families out there right now that might be struggling with, first of all, getting their kids outside because they're in front of a screen for so long lately, and just doing a different form of education as well. So yeah, check out our Nature for Homeschooler programs. They're hopefully going to be a big resource for our community. We love to help out. Of course we love education, but we really love to be something that our community looks to us for a good resource for outdoor education. And so that's just another option. We offer lots of fun hikes and family programs as well, but I just thought Nature for Homeschooling was a little bit more applicable currently right now to mention.
Most definitely. So how does that work? Does a parent need to sign up, and is it a weekly class or bi-weekly, and is there a cost associated with it?
Yep, there is a nominal fee. It's $7 per child. And depending on the age of the child, we kind of run it like our summer camps. So you are welcome to leave your child with us if you fill out the camp release forms, the drop-off forms, so that we know enough safety information about them to have them here. Or you can stay with your child. So we give the option to the families to choose for Nature for Homeschoolers if the adults want to stay and learn alongside their kid, or if they want to drop off if they meet the age requirements for that. And we offer it in every seasonal guide. So our fall guide just came out not long ago. And so we have 2 sessions for older kids and 2 sessions for younger kids in the fall guide. And then we'll offer them again in our winter guide coming up as well. So they're offered a couple times per season.
Laura Azoury with us. She's a park naturalist over at the West Bloomfield Schools or West Bloomfield Parks. Thank you so much. Lauren, I have to tell you, I think a lot of parents right now, if they just heard that, they're like, what do you mean? I could drop off my kid with them? Yes, you are going to get a surge of people wanting to do that because even parents need breaks every once in a while.
Agreed. I have a 5-year-old at home, a new kindergartner, and I understand, absolutely. So yeah, like I said, we like teaching that way. This is the way we've always taught. It's just natural for us, no pun intended, to teach in the outdoors and use the outdoors as a resource. So we're well equipped to do so. We have good resources to do so here. We've got great animals that help us teach as well. So our turtle will come out and be a teacher sometimes. And we've got all of our other biofacts, fur and nests and things to help explore. So we definitely have things that not every parent has, which makes it unique as well.
You're so awesome. Your team over there, you're such a knowledgeable team, but also such a fun team. We're lucky to have all of you here in the West Bloomfield area. Thanks so much for being with us. Have a happy Tuesday. Get out and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful day.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great speaking with you and all of our community. Appreciate it.
Lauren Azoury with us. She's a park naturalist over at the West Bloomfield Parks. Always great to have them with us. And we are also Facebook friends with them today. They are streaming the show live. We appreciate them and all that they do over there at the parks. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Then when we come back, we're going to be speaking with the CEO of the Lighthouse, another great organization here in Oakland County, helping so many people in our community.
Hi. My name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Parks COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe here in our studios of CivicCenterTV.com and our studios of 89.3 Lakes FM. You can catch us in the Birmingham area municipal access, and also if you do have cable, channel 15 on Comcast, channel 99 on AT&T, or catch us on the radio 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Basically, Tyler, you can catch us anywhere and everywhere, not just the radio, not just on cable TV, but also on social media as well. Thank you to the West Bloomfield Parks for live streaming today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We appreciate it and want to say thank you to all of their friends for tuning in as well. Shifting gears just a little bit here on the Megacast, let's join in Brian Hertz. He is the president and CEO of the Lighthouse, located right here in Oakland County. Ryan, thank you for taking time to be with us today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For those not familiar with the Lighthouse, can you share with us your mission and what you do there each and every day?
Sure. So Lighthouse is the result of two organizations that merged together in 2019. So Lighthouse of Oakland County and South Oakland Shelter merged, bringing together two human service organizations focused on relieving poverty in our community. Our mission is building communities that end poverty, and we do that in four main areas of work. Our sort of base sort of flagship programs are oriented around emergency services. So our emergency shelter program for folks experiencing homelessness, our food pantry programs for folks experiencing hunger or food insecurity. We have rental and utility assistance to prevent evictions, and sort of a whole series of supports for folks that are experiencing financial crisis. And the next area of our work is stability work, so helping households that have experienced poverty find some semblance of longer-term financial stability. And in that area of work, we focus on follow-up care for previously homeless people, permanent supportive housing for people who've experienced chronic homelessness. We have a transitional housing program for formerly homeless single mothers, as well as the Centers for Working Families program focused on helping people increase earned income, access benefits, and all supplemented with financial coaching. And the other two areas of our work are focused on systems change. So in our community, we believe the greatest barrier to ending poverty in our community is housing affordability. So we're very focused on adding affordable housing units to our community. And then we also work in our fourth area in community engagement and advocacy to help address policies that contribute to barriers to ending poverty in our community.
Wow, you guys do so much over there for so many people in our community. What's it been like for you during the pandemic? Has the need been greater? And how about donations? Are you struggling to get donations?
Well, the need's certainly been greater. We prior to the pandemic, I would say that our focus was mostly expanding in those second two areas of work that I mentioned, right? So we had our baseline emergency services programs, and our real focus was on how do we really long-term change the lives of these families so they don't need to rely on these sorts of services ongoing. And so we were working on housing development projects, we still are. But what the pandemic has forced us to do is reinvest in and recognize just the general lack of safety net emergency services in Oakland County, and to really focus on stepping up to meet unmet needs that were growing rapidly as a result of the pandemic, but that also were, from a safety perspective, were compounded by, what does it mean to have unsheltered homeless people when there's a pandemic? What does it mean to be potentially facing eviction? To be struggling with hunger when certain resources are just no longer available, and all this while people were losing income, and a larger number of folks were seeking our help. So we've ramped up predominantly in two main areas pretty dramatically. The first being our emergency shelter services. So we went from a capacity of about 30 individuals per night in emergency shelter to over 100. And we did that through a shift into a hoteling program because we don't believe that mass shelter is currently a viable and safe approach, especially for a lot of the families we were serving and some of the individuals we were serving who were COVID-19 positive. So we've been doing that since March. We've also dramatically ramped up our emergency food distribution efforts. So we now have, whereas in the past we'd serve roughly 10,000 folks a year with emergency food, now it's about 4,600 folks per week. And we're doing that in partnership with a large number of volunteer groups and other organizations. We're sort of providing the hub to collect food donations, process those donations with volunteers, socially distanced, of course. We're renting a larger warehouse space for that. And then moving those emergency food boxes that each have a week of food for a family out to the people who need them. So we have a series of we have multiple food distribution satellite sites throughout the county currently, and we're also doing home delivery. So we've ramped up significantly in those areas, and we're definitely in need of donations to support that work. But I will say, I wouldn't say we're struggling in regards to donations. I've actually been moved by the generosity of our community during this time. I've never seen so much support for the basic needs of people in our community, and I've been working in homeless services for over a decade now. So while we do continue to need additional support to continue to meet that need, I'm very proud of our community's support to date.
Ryan Hertz with us. He's the president and CEO of Lighthouse, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And with that need for certain services being greater, especially housing being greater during this time, how much more of a need is there for help from the community, whether it be donating resources or donating monetary funds to support the services that are being provided by Lighthouse, and how has that need been met by the community?
Sure. So the day that we found out about the first case in Michigan, we launched what we call our COVID-19 Emergency Food and Shelter Fund, with a goal to raise initially $25,000 to help us with hoteling and to help us cater food to our shelter clients, because it wasn't safe anymore to have volunteers cook meals in kitchens together and serve those meals together. And that began in mid to late March. And we're currently at just under $3.4 million raised. So we went from just sort of an early effort to just make sure folks know we needed extra help to sort of this rolling and building avalanche of support, as well as a rolling and building avalanche of need and activities to meet that need. So our biggest needs right now are volunteers. We continue to move large amounts of food every day. And we need folks who are willing to, socially distance, help us sort that food, and help us with delivery of food boxes. Some households have trouble safely getting to distribution sites, so we're doing deliveries. And we also have folks on site helping with the curbside pickup at those distribution sites as well. We're also certainly continue to need financial donations to support the ongoing purchase of food, the ongoing costs of hoteling until it's safe to go back to our usual model, as well as to support the additional costs of feeding the folks in the shelter program, providing meals to them. Case managers, we have a larger caseload because of the number of people that we're serving, and additional costs associated with just that volume. So we do have an online campaign where folks can contribute and also find out more information about volunteering. It's at Lighthouse MI, as in Michigan, lighthousemi.org/COVID-19, and folks can check in with us there to find out how to help.
Wow, you guys have so much on your plate. I can't imagine what this time has been like for you. Definitely, you guys haven't been taking a break during the pandemic. So have you had outbreaks within any of your clients? And if so, or your workers, how did you deal with that?
Sure. So we had two staff members one within the first week of the first case in Michigan, who became symptomatic and was tested positive, and then a second who had been exposed to that individual before they had become symptomatic, who then also became symptomatic soon after, which led in the first 14 days, really, probably 5 days in, we found this out. So, the first 14 days, we ended up quarantining, I believe, 22 staff members who had some exposure to those two individuals, just as a precautionary measure to try to get the situation under control. I'm really happy to say that all of the measures that we had in place in the workplace as of the time that we rolled them out, because that first exposure happened prior between those two staff individuals, once we were aware of the cases in Michigan and rolled that out, that they were successful, that none of the other folks that we had to quarantine became symptomatic. And that gave us a sense of confidence that we were doing the right thing to keep the highest level of safety possible, all things considered, without having to reduce the volume of services that we're providing. Since that time, we have not had any cases or outbreaks within the organization from the perspective of clients passing cases on to other clients or to staff or vice versa. We've had situations where staff have notified us that they may have had an outside contact, and as soon as that outside of work, and as soon as that's happened, we have asked folks to isolate, or not isolate, but to stay away from work and quarantine for 14 days and return after a test. And so far, none of those have become positive. And as far as we're aware, none of the positive cases among clients. We have had some clients come into the shelter already positive. And as far as we know, none of those have spread to other clients or other staff. So we believe that the measures that we've taken have been successful, but we continue to be as vigilant as we can be. We ask all staff to avoid as much in-person contact as possible while still accomplishing the work that we need to accomplish.
Brian Hertz with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the president and CEO of Lighthouse here in Oakland County. Ryan, so going forward, this crisis has taught all of us that we can't operate as normal. Has there been anything that's been positive for your organization that you think will move forward as the pandemic comes to an end?
Certainly. I would say in two different areas, one for our organization, one for the community at large. And I'll start with the community at large and say that I don't call these things really silver linings, because I don't think that the net is a positive thing. I mean, this is a tragic situation. We've lost people. We have people who've suffered immensely as a result of this situation in our community. And nothing will justify that. But I will say that our community, both of donors, as I've already mentioned, but also of service providers, community organizations, municipalities, invested, active community, civic-minded people, have really rallied together and collaborated in ways that I never would have imagined. We've deepened partnerships as a result of this. We've really come to value what other organizations bring to the table, and I think a lot of organizations have really come to value the spirit of what we bring to the table as an organization. And it's my hope that those newly forged relationships and deepened partnerships will carry forward, and that will be a benefit to the people that we serve in the years and hopefully decades ahead. In regards to our organization, I'll say that we've learned so much from this. We've learned what we're capable of. We've learned where the community has a lot of room to grow in terms of our readiness and our recognition of the needs of our neighbors. And I think that we've learned this, and I hope that our community members, supporters, and donors have learned this in a way that I hope will extend beyond this pandemic, and that the humanitarian cause of alleviating poverty will remain at the forefront ongoing, because it's an area that we've neglected as a community, and in some ways taken for granted that it was being addressed. And I think it's my hope that this might be a spark that sort of acts as a catalyst for future work.
Ryan Hertz with us. He is the president and CEO of Lighthouse with us on the Oakland County Megacast today. Ryan, just another couple minutes with you. Before we have to let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today about your organization, or any other information about Lighthouse that would be, or other topics that would be interesting or important for our audience to know about today?
Great question. I guess I'll say, obviously what we've discussed is very much at the forefront, but while it's true that during this time we've refocused our energy on emergency services, we're not taking our eyes off the prize of ending systemic economic inequality, and helping our community recognize the value of reducing disparities, not only from a humanitarian point of view, but also from an economic point of view. And for many years, the approaches that have been shown to be effective in alleviating poverty, and particularly intergenerational poverty, have been stigmatized, right? So it's challenging for us to develop affordable housing. We're doing it. We're about to finish a 64-unit apartment complex in Oak Park, and we'll be starting to lease up the first building in October. We're in the midst of several other projects in earlier phases, and we're doing it, but the challenge has always been that it's stigmatized, that the idea that that somehow subsidizing housing or generating affordability in an area is somehow not a net positive to the community at large. And what we will continue to advocate for, and that what we believe it will be most transformative for our community, is helping our community understand the value of economic diversity, the value to the business community of high quality housing in stable neighborhoods for their workforce, and what it means to a community of significant wealth, such as Oakland County, when businesses have trouble employing people in certain roles and retaining those staff, because there's nowhere nearby for folks to live that's reasonable to expect them to locate their families. So we will continue that path, and we believe that that's the most transformative area of work around poverty alleviation right now.
Ryan Hertz with us he is the president and CEO of Lighthouse. So many great points that you made there. We appreciate you taking your time and sharing all of your knowledge and all of your work that you and your team are doing over there at the Lighthouse. Thanks for being with us on the Megacast.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Doing amazing work. We are only as good as the person next door to us. So when we rise each other up, we are all lifted. So thank you for your work. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. And when we come back, we are going to dive a little deeper into that conversation about economics.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl alongside Tyler Keefe. You can catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, 89.3 Lakes FM, and 88.1 FM The Biff. If you have cable TV, you can tune in on Channel 15 if you have Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. All communities really took a hit at the beginning of the pandemic, but there is a little bit of bright news coming out that maybe we're going to come out of the pandemic here in the state of Michigan, and it's not going to be quite as bad as first feared. We are going to go ahead and bring in now the Dr. Jonathan Silberman. He is a professor of economics at Oakland University and director Southeastern Michigan Economic Data Center. Thank you so much for being with us. That's a very long title you have.
Yes, it's a mouthful, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So give us the lowdown. What do you think the future is looking like for our economy? I know a report just recently came out for Oakland County saying, well, it's bad. Maybe it's not as bad as first feared.
Well, I think what's happened locally here, there was this shock on the economy that was unprecedented, where the economy shut down except for essential services. So to give you some idea, basically employment in Metro Detroit before the pandemic was about 2,100,000 people were employed. Once the pandemic hit, that dropped to about 1,500,000. So what's lost there is 600,000 jobs. At that point, the unemployment rate was a little over 23%. So these are horrific numbers. Since then, in the last few months, there's been a very sharp rebound. So today, employment is about 1,871,000, and the unemployment rate has dropped to 9.6%. So after this very sharp rebound, we're still short 200,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate is basically double what it was before the pandemic. So there's been a sharp rebound, but there's a long way to go to recover. And in the last 2 months, it looks like the economy has flatlined. It's not really growing very strongly, nor has it started to decline. So I think that's where we are right now.
And I also wonder, of all the people that were able to go back to work or to find new jobs, how many of them are actually underemployed who took jobs just to put food on the table, and what the long-term impact of that could be?
Well, of course, for the local economy, we don't have the detail on that statistic. But what it appears has happened is that people with high incomes have recovered most of their jobs, and they can work remotely. With people with low incomes, still are about 28 or 30% below the employment levels they were previously. So the recovery has really highlighted the inequality.
Dr. Jonathan Silberman with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He's a professor of economics at Oakland University and the director of the Southeast Michigan Economic Data Center. So with that in mind, with all this information in mind, Dr. Silberman, what is the forecast as of now in terms of where that recovery is going? You said it's kind of flatlined. Do you expect it to pick up again? Do you expect that it could potentially have another dip in the coming months or the coming year as the pandemic continues and maybe possibly even ends?
Well, okay, I'll try to answer this question, but I always say economic forecasting is a very hazardous occupation. There's only one way to make a forecast, and that is somehow use the past. And the past is not a good guide to the future. And of course, now the future of the economy depends on the course of the pandemic. So I don't have a good forecast of what's going to happen there. And to that, we can also add how people are going to react to the pandemic. How are they going to adapt to living with COVID-19? What's going to happen when the vaccine is available? How effective will that vaccine be? Will people take that vaccine? And how long will it take until the pandemic is under control? To all that, we can add the additional uncertainty of the government response. I think it's pretty clear that given the large number of people unemployed and the effect on low-income workers, that we need more government support. And so far, Congress has not given that support. So with all those uncertainties stated, my forecast would be that there's going to be very slow progress for the next 6 months. And then maybe we'll get some clarity on all those issues I previously discussed that are really not directly related to economics, but impact economic behavior. So I would forecast slow progress for the next 6 months until we can get some more clarity on those other issues.
We all seek clarity, that is for sure. Dr. Jonathan Silberman with us. He's a professor of economics at Oakland University and the director of the Southeastern Michigan Economic Data Center. So, Doctor, I wonder, at the beginning of the pandemic, the one thing that was so clear was the vulnerability of the supply chain. We have so many products that are made overseas. Do you think because of this crisis, some of those jobs could be coming back to the United States?
Well, yes, there's likely to be a long-term impact on globalization. And I think a lot of firms will be rethinking their supply chains. So the statistics so far show, like employment, that there's been a very rapid increase in trade. Trade has come back, but again, substantially below the level it was before the pandemic. So I think some jobs will be coming back to the United States as companies rethink their supply chain. I think, particularly what was shown to be a problem was in the medical products.
Dr. Jonathan Silberman with us. He's a professor of economics at Oakland University and the director of the Southeast Michigan Economic Data Center with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so with that being the case on a local level, there's been a lot of development also from aid from the county level and aid from the federal level to some extent in helping and supporting small businesses to continue their operations throughout the pandemic. As you had mentioned previously, there hasn't been that second supplemental from the federal government to help the individual worker. Do you believe that the assistance that's being given to the small businesses by the state, by local counties, and from the Federal CARES Act and other programs that have been in place will continue to help those businesses to a certain extent to extend their stay out a few more months, but could ultimately hurt them later on down the line if other people that are stimulating the economy, such as workers, are not able to get further assistance from the federal government?
Well, the CARES Act and the basically $3 trillion, which is 10% of GDP, an enormous injection into the economy, that was absolutely necessary at the time. I mean, maybe you could have better designed something, but it had to be done very rapidly and injected immediately in the economy, given the stop that was imposed on economic activity. At the time, I think the thinking was that was disaster relief, like for a hurricane, that it would be short term. Then the pandemic would be under control, and there would be the V-shaped recovery, and businesses would bounce back. And we wanted to make sure businesses, particularly small businesses, were viable and workers were connected to their employer. Now, 6 months later, we know that this is not really disaster relief anymore. Now it is more typical stimulus relief because many of these businesses are not going to be coming back that quickly. So I think we now know that, and we need more help for small businesses, and we need more help for people who are unemployed.
Yeah, 6 months into this has been a long, hard road for so many businesses and their employees as well. And Doctor, I wonder if we don't get this last round of stimulus help, as you were saying, it's stimulus. It's, not just a disaster relief. We're past that by now. How much longer can we continue as a country to maintain even the status quo where we are now? I mean, there are some businesses that still aren't reopened, such as movie theaters. So how much longer can this go on without another huge handout from the government?
Well, I think if there's not more stimulus from the federal government, then the economy is going to slow down and may dip back into negative growth and a deeper recession. I'm always confident or thinking that the government will come up with another stimulus package. I think they will. It's just a matter of when that will take place. I think another way to think about what's happened here is initially the large increase in unemployment was furloughed or temporary workers. And now what we see is an increase in permanent or long-term unemployment. So there's been a big shift. For example, in contrast, during the 2008, 2009 Great Recession, all that unemployment was permanent workers. The temporary or furloughed unemployment hardly changed at all. So now, again, we're seeing more move from temporary to permanent unemployment, which again warrants government stimulus to help these people out.
Well, I'll tell you, some of these numbers are heavy to deal with when you try to put them into, like thinking like it's your own checkbook, trillions of dollars in debt just to try to navigate and survive this pandemic. We're 6 months into it. No one knows for certain where we are going to be coming out of the crisis that we are in the middle of. But I have to say, is there any glimmer of hope in all of this? Can you leave us with something that's a little bit positive?
Well, I'm very optimistic about the U.S. economy. And one of the characteristics of the U.S. economy is how flexible the resources are, so that we can adapt and move resources to their more efficient use. So I feel that consumers and businesses will adapt to this situation and will, repurpose and rethink what they're doing. I think innovation and productivity will take place. And, it's just a matter of time before those things all begin to feed on one another, and the economy starts to grow again, and we can put this behind us.
We're all looking forward to the day we can put it behind us. Dr. Jonathan Silberman, he is a professor of economics at Oakland University and the director of the Southeastern Michigan Economic Data Center. We thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us this year. I will say, are you teaching remotely, or are you teaching any classes in person?
Oh, absolutely. I'm teaching remotely and learning how to do that and planning to use that knowledge to innovate my classes when I'm back in the classroom seeing the students, which I really enjoy doing.
We're all being forced to learn new things during this pandemic.
Correct.
Well, you're coming out stronger. I'm sure your students enjoy having you as a professor. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, we are checking in with the hockey arenas in the world of skating. They were recently allowed to reopen, but a lot of restrictions are in place. What's it like at the ice skating rinks right now? This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, as always, today we're on 88.1 The Biff, and we are also on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Both of our TV stations today and always are on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 for your cable providers. In addition, we are on CivicCenterTV.com. You'll go to our homepage, click on the Watch Live link, and you can watch every single one of our episodes live in high definition as they happen live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, and over our many replays throughout the week. It's this easy. Look at this. CivicCenterTV.com is our homepage. Right on our homepage, there's 2 spots. There's this little box right here that I'm circling if you're watching us on TV, and you can just click this button in the bottom right corner to expand it. Or if you want it to be more of a larger screen without going full screen, you can click on the Watch Live link, and there you go. And unfortunately for you on TV right now, if you're listening on the radio, you're really lucky because those on TV are currently seeing my face there, and then I cut back and they're seeing my face here once again full screen. But CivicCenterTV.com, click on our Watch Live link. You can watch each and every one of our shows live in high definition as it happens, as we talk to a number of different people throughout the community about COVID-19 and other top stories in the local area each and every day, getting a different perspective from a variety of people all throughout the regular week so that you can keep updated on the way that COVID-19 and the local stories are impacting our communities here in Oakland County. Our last guest today is Mindy Prisky. She is the owner of Mindy Prisky Power Skating, and recently, like gyms and like some select bowling alleys for their seasonal gameplay, ice rinks were able to begin reopening as well. We are pleased to be joined by Mindy now on the Oakland County Megacast. Mindy, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on. How's your team over at Mindy Prisky Power Skating been doing?
We are excited and trying to navigate through everything that's going on here, but excited to be back on the ice. That's the most important part.
So over the course of the pandemic, it began in March, in the middle of the winter. People are going ice skating outside still at that point in time, but they're also going to their favorite local skate rinks as well. And then all of a sudden, COVID-19 really starts to take a toll here in the United States, takes a toll especially in Michigan early on, and everything seemed to have been shut down, including gyms, including ice rinks. And you were shut down for several months. How did that affect your business, and how are you able to survive through the long extended shutdown?
It's been really hard. So we have a 2-surface ice arena in Macomb County, and when this all started, we were all told it was going to be a 2-week thing. So we kind of shut the doors and we're like, okay, we can manage 2 weeks. And then 2 more weeks went by and 2 more weeks. And unfortunately, at that point, we started having to make decisions as to what to do with the ice and not really knowing what was going to happen. We just kept being told 2 weeks at a time. So we just kept footing the bill and trying to just keep the ice frozen. Next thing you know, it was 173 days that we were without, business. And unfortunately, we were lucky enough that in the, 12 years that we've had the company, we built up a pretty good savings account for emergencies. But, unlucky enough, we've gone through $240,000 of our savings, and we're down to less than 50 grand in our savings account now.
Wow, that is a significant change, definitely, and definitely shows in numbers the struggle that these businesses that have been shut down have had to deal with just to stay open and prevent their business from going under. So Mindy, with that, now that your business is back open, before we get into the current operations, tell us a little bit about Mindy Prisky Power Skating and what your business is and who it is and who your services are available to.
So I have multiple facets to my business, which is great. We actually run the Mount Clemens Ice Arena. I'm a part of the RT Arena management staff there. I'm the skating director, which means I'm in charge of bringing programming into the ice arena, bringing new skaters in, keeping skaters on the ice, coming up with, different types of programming to, keep people in the sport in general. I also coach high-level international figure skaters, and who would skate with like Disney on Ice and Royal Caribbean. I also have the, lucky bit of I coach high-level professional hockey players, including NHL players.
So as the economy shut down and your businesses are shut down over the course of the pandemic, these people are still practicing their craft or need to. The NHL players still need to keep up with their ability to stay game ready or stay competition ready. Definitely those that are performance skaters need to continue to practice so that they continue to develop greater muscle memory for their routines and get ready for auditions. How was that affected by the pandemic? How did those people adjust to that, and how maybe were you able to help them through that while being shut down?
The hardest thing to deal with this all is that, when everything got shut down basically across the country, we were all kind of like, okay, we're all in the same boat. We had all of our pro players from overseas being sent back home to Michigan. I had a guy that was in Austria. I had a bunch of kids that were, in the OHL over in Canada, wherever they were playing at in the U.S. Everybody got sent home. So it was kind of an even playing field at the beginning. And then slowly ice arenas all over the country started opening up. And next thing you know, more so than the NHL players was the problem with like the kids that were, getting ready, like draft eligible players, or the kids that were looking for scholarships, because normally that last year, you kind of commit to college or you commit to a junior team, and they look at you and they say, okay, this next season, have a big season. And that's like the last thing that they're looking for to get you that scholarship or to get you that contract. And all of a sudden, Michigan was shut down and the rest of the country was open. And our athletes are getting passed over for showcases, are getting passed over for scholarships. And so it became really difficult. There's only, it's unlike other sports. You can't just like take your ball and go outside. Like it doesn't work that way. My job is a technician on the ice. So when it comes down to actual skating, people can go outside and do some of their stick handling. You can do some of your shooting. but you can't really simulate skating in any other aspect, not even on rollerblades. So our athletes here in Michigan have a huge, amount of time that they now have to make up so they can stay on an international field.
Mindy Prisky with us. She is the owner of Mindy Prisky Power Skating, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So now that ice rinks are reopened, you do still have to follow COVID-19 guidelines. Make sure that you're keeping everybody that's coming into your doors and all your employees, all your clients, and so on safe from COVID-19. How are you going about doing that? Because there are certain regulations in place, and there's differences that in enacting those guidelines in a restaurant or in a retail store or in a gymnasium, and that may be different from in a skating rink.
It seemed really simple at first, and it still logically seems very simple to me. When we talk about my figure skaters, figure skating is a individual sport as it is. Your coaching is normally done a one-on-one coaching session. They're mostly private lessons, unless you're a dance or a pair team. But at that point, there's really no issue with, social distancing. I always say a sheet of ice is 17,000 square feet. And so you can easily put 20 skaters out there, have a couple of them with coaches. That's not a problem. Our problem actually came with hockey. And hockey, once again, we have this huge space that we're in. When you look at a hockey player, they are covered in head to toe in equipment. There's no skin exposure. So there's no skin to skin contact. There's no shared equipment. They literally use they have their own gloves on to hold their own stick to push around a common puck that no one on the ice touches except for the referees. And they wear a full face shield. So at the beginning, we really thought this was a no-brainer. It shouldn't be hard at all. We should be the safest two sports out there. And now we're requiring to have the hockey players wear masks. And that's causing a challenge, especially with, the speed of which the sport moves and basically the mouth guard. So we're having some challenges with that side of it.
Yeah, it's definitely odd in that case with these kinds of hockey games that are being on, hockey competitions where it's not the NHL where they have maybe the eye mask and everything else on their faces exposed. They are wearing full masks in this case, and there's definitely a discrepancy there between having a face shield, like many people wear face shields out in public, versus wearing a face shield on the ice. And then the debate goes on with whether or not certain athletes should have to wear masks during competitions in the state of Michigan and just overall. So Mindy Prisky with us. She is the owner of Mindy Prisky Power Skating, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Mindy, for those who are interested in your services and the services that you help to provide in the Macomb County area, how can they find more information or get in contact with you?
So the ice arena that I mainly work out of in terms of the programming for our Learn to Skate programs, which would be your initial, when you first get on the ice, you've got a little kid that wants to get started, you can check out mountclemensicearena.com. I also have a Facebook page for Mindy Prisky Power Skating and Instagram for Mindy Prisky Power Skating, or you can contact me directly at mindyprisky@yahoo.com.
Mindy, anything else for us today before we let you go?
No, we're just happy to be open, and once again, just keep those kids on the ice, because if we lose our ice arenas in this state, we actually will lose the entire sport. So we need to keep those ice arenas open, and we only do that with keeping our business.
Mindy, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mindy Prisky, owner of Mindy Prisky Power Skating, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast all throughout the local areas. Ice rinks, gyms, and other sectors of the economy recently did reopen. Good to talk to them. We've now gone all around and talked to each of them, gotten an update, and wow, a really, really interesting story from Mindy in regards to her business and their operations and what really goes into keeping businesses open during their shutdowns economically. In this case, hundreds of thousands of dollars were utilized from their savings to keep her business open, and very little is left by the time that they are reopening. So these businesses really struggling and did make a major sacrifice for the betterment of the public health, and we certainly appreciate that. We enjoy talking to her, and wish her and other ice rinks in our local area and other businesses that have recently reopened and are still struggling to get their feet back under them and hopefully eventually recover somewhat as much as possible from what they've gone through. We certainly have our thoughts with them and hope that the future is well for them as we go forward. Just about 5.5 minutes left in today's program. So before we go today, let's go through some of our important information here that we have for you on civiccentertv.com. If you go to our coronavirus page, either by clicking on coronavirus at the top of our homepage or by going straight to civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, we have links to resources from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and many of the local municipalities in our coverage area. And these are direct websites to their direct links to their COVID-19 specific web pages. So you don't have to dig around on cdc.gov to find their COVID-19 page, or on michigan.gov, or on our Oakland County website. You click on any of these, or on your local municipality. You can click on the city of Pontiac, and it'll take you directly, not just to the city of Pontiac's website, but to their coronavirus page with specific information from the city government for test kits in Pontiac, announcements from Mayor Deirdre Waterman and other officials of the city. You can get that from your municipality also on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. In addition, we have many of your top stories about COVID-19 and other news and information each and every day on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We'll go through a few of these top stories from today. Confrontation over mask leads to felony charges. The 49-year-old man faces 2 felony charges after allegedly spitting and insulting a man who confronted him at a Livonia gas station about not wearing a mask. Police say a 56-year-old man confronted a 49-year-old man about not wearing a mask, which is required. The suspect has been charged with ethnic intimidation and assault. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention advised retail workers last month to avoid confrontations with people who are not wearing masks. And that's also what our local law enforcement here in Oakland County, many of the municipal police authorities, as well as our Oakland County Sheriff have advised. Make a report to the business. Maybe if you need to, they'll get police involved if that's the case. But definitely, if you don't need to take matters into your own hands, don't take them into your own hands and be in a position where you could potentially be assaulted like this man allegedly was at a Livonia gas station. More news at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. COVID-19 surges throughout Michigan schools. Outbreaks are spiking in schools and colleges, with a report released by the state on Monday listing new and ongoing outbreaks in 28 K-12 schools and at 20 colleges and universities across the state. The report, which tallies outbreaks as of September 17th, indicates that there are now at least 2,220 COVID-19 infections linked to new or ongoing outbreaks at Michigan colleges and universities, up more than 60% from the 1,379 reported by the state in the week previous. While cases are increasing in school and college settings, hospitalizations among the state as a whole are not, and coronavirus hospitalizations are now at a near low since April. So that is certainly good news within some not so great news, and that will continue to track here on Civic Center TV and on the Oakland County Megacast. Lastly, really interesting from a scientific perspective and getting ahead of COVID-19, wastewater is being tested to track COVID-19 outbreaks. A testing of wastewater for evidence of COVID-19 is showing promise. A new paper suggests it could provide a very early warning of an impending outbreak. The main way epidemiologists have followed the growth of the pandemic is through testing individuals. Those results may be delayed from the date that the person actually first becomes infected. Wastewater testing will detect a problem much sooner. Researchers at both Michigan State University, go green, and the University of Michigan have already started looking at how wastewater testing could be used to detect COVID-19 outbreaks on their campuses. Hey, any way you can get out ahead of this virus is certainly going to be a positive. If you can figure out a certain area that the coronavirus may be present in amongst the population, you can isolate that area and do mass testing and contact and maybe preemptive contact tracing in that area, and encouraging people in those areas in which that wastewater management system is to get tested and then find outbreaks from there and trace from there before they become outbreaks that have spread either within a certain group of people or, worst of all, in a community spread format. So that all at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, in addition to links to reputable resources about COVID-19 on the federal, state, and local level as well. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, your home for coronavirus information in the Oakland County area. That is going to do it for our show today. We'd like to thank West Bloomfield Parks for joining us on Facebook, as well as Parks Naturalist Lauren Azoury for joining us today on the show. Carol Azarovitz, the education manager at the Tutor Doctor, was with us as well. Thank her. Thank the president and CEO of Lighthouse, Ryan Hertz, Dr. Jonathan Silberman from Oakland University, and Mindy Prisky, as well as our entire crew, Jake Kustash, Larry Nyland, Ronnie Dahl, and all of us here at Civic Center TV. I'm Tyler Keefe. That is it for today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We will return tomorrow at 10 a.m. with new episodes, and we'll have episodes throughout the day replaying today's episode.